JSB Talks Digital.
Hello and welcome to JSB Talks Digital, the podcast for marketers, digital transformation champions, and those of you bringing your skills into the digital age. I'm Joanne Sweeney-Burke and this podcast is brought to you by Digital Training Institute. In this episode, number 80, I share my best bits from the 52 podcasts in 2017. This year, I've had just over 10,000 podcast downloads and 40,000 visits to my podcast blog posts. So a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed, downloaded, listened, shared, and read the podcast notes from across the world. I show up every week for you and I absolutely love it. With the addition of JSB Talks Digital to Spotify, Google Play and Libsyn this year, I'm expecting an increase in podcast downloads in 2018. So please keep spreading the word. Coming up in today's show, the social media news story of the year, my favourite interviews from 52 podcasts, the best Ask JSB question of the year, Shoutouts of the year, my favourite JSB's column of 2017, the topics that dominated social this year, and find out which social media tool gets my 2017 award.
Social Media Feature of the Year.
JSB Talks Digital.
It was a very busy news year on the social media front. Within this podcast, I shared 3 social media news stories every week, resulting in 156 news items in 2017. So I trawled back through the JSB Talks Digital archives to find out what was my favourite social media news story of the year. My social media news segment focuses on the new features added to social networks in the news for all the right or the wrong reasons, and social media reports compiled by the industry. So, the social media news story of the year from JSB Talks Digital is from episode 71, when I reported that Facebook, Google, and Twitter would appear in front of US Congress to provide evidence on Russian election interference. All 3 tech companies found evidence of ad tampering over the course of internal investigations this year and subsequently reported those findings to Congress, which I also reported on in previous podcasts. This news dominated all media outlets this year and will change the way social media companies act and respond when it comes to fake news and political advertising in 2018.
JSB's favorite interviews.
JSB Talks Digital.
It was virtually impossible to choose just one interview of the year in 2017, so I chose 3. Bobby interviewing Santa on episode number 78 of JSB Talks Digital definitely makes the best bits. There are no words really to introduce this interview, just have a listen back.
Question 7. Did you get my letter?
Why, yes, Santa. Why, yes, I did. It arrived from Ireland on priority post only today, I must say. You live in Barna now. Now, don't you?
Yep,
Don't you
I
live
do.
in Barna? You live in Barna. Yes, you do. And I have it now, and the elves are busy working away on your special delivery.
So, this is the last question.
Okay.
Can you give young people some good advice about cyberbullying?
Oh, yes, I can indeed, Bobby. And it's very important, very, very important. So I hope all the boys and girls are listening into this. I am so glad that you asked me about this. Cyberbullying or being mean to people is not very cool. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Bobby, did you know that really mean to people could result in breaking the law. So don't be mean online, and if you can't be nice, don't be naughty. Google will remember your mean comments forever. And remember, I know Google very, very well.
My second favourite interview of the year goes to a lady I had been following for a long time and whom I wanted to interview for so long. I got the opportunity to interview Amy Schmitter-Landino in London, and she's the author of Vlog Like a Boss. That interview appeared on episode 75. Now let's talk about the two Goliaths of video marketing, YouTube and Facebook. Yes. And they are stepping into this space and they want some of the party, yeah? And you spoke about that yesterday when you spoke on stage at Upreneur Summit here in London, where we're both attending. Yes. They're both very different platforms, aren't they?
They're so different. And this is the mistake people are making it because video is difficult. Video is not just write up a blog post and you're done. I would argue that blogging is difficult in its own right because I don't do it. I make video because that's more natural to me. But it is still resource-wise, time-wise, planning-wise, makeup-wise, all the things, right, we have to think about with video. It takes up a lot of time. So somebody makes it one. They make a video, they vlog, and they want to post it everywhere possible. Let's post it on Twitter. Let's post it on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, now anywhere. Let's get the most traction possible out of this video. But the reality is Facebook is a very different environment than YouTube from a viewership perspective. When someone goes to YouTube, they click on a video and they click into it. They watch it. Video and audio. Facebook, video just sort of happens to you. It starts playing in front of you and you kind of decide, do I want to be a part of this experience or not? And so because of that, you have to take the context into consideration. It's massive. If your video was customized for YouTube, it may not be a great option for Facebook. If you haven't made it something that people will want to click into as it's playing, versus YouTube, you just need a great title and a photo. I mean, it's just different. It's completely different. So the mistake people are making is let's just upload it everywhere. Then you're spreading yourself across. You're mediocre at best in all of those places because you didn't customize the experience for each audience and you get barely any traction on a video. Or you make it perfect for YouTube, you make it perfect for Facebook, and you invest the time in each of those places separately, promote it the way it needs to be promoted, and get the traction. That's the mistake people are making, not looking at the context of these networks and saying, I need to make something that's going to work here specifically. It will be different over there.
My third pick for interview of the year goes to another YouTube sensation and video marketer. And that's Roberto Blake from episode number 31. So let's talk about monetization, because I know that's a question that all my listeners will want me to ask you about. What revenue potential or even revenue streams does your YouTube channel give you from, AdSense, being hired to train people, speaking and consultancy, based on now your higher brand profile? What has it done for you and for your business?
Well, for me, it has, in my opinion, it has unlimited potential, and it's helped me grow a six-figure business, and not just in the YouTube AdSense, the sponsorships, and the affiliate marketing, although those all do very well for me in terms of elevating my overall brand as an online educator, not just as a YouTube expert, but as somebody who knows social media, as someone who understands the language of branding, and more importantly, I'm a content marketing expert and a video marketing expert, more and beyond that I'm a YouTube expert, because I understand how all the things interrelate. Not to mention that I know how to use, unlike some people who are creators, I know all the technical aspects of the lighting and the camera gear and the editing programs and the recording, even some of the motion graphics stuff and Adobe After Effects. So I'm a hardware and software guy. So it allows me to have proven that by showing. And there's very few people who can tell you that they've shot, produced, and edited and optimized and marketed 1,000 videos. That's a very specific credential to have. Not a lot of people could put that on a resume. So it's elevated me as a subject matter expert, and as a practitioner, it's allowed me to work with great clients, great brands. I've gotten to work with companies like Adobe and Dell and Lexar and Transcend and Samsung, just to name a few. I've gotten to speak on great stages like Social Media Marketing World. It looks like I'm going to be speaking at Summit Live. I've spoken at How Design Live. And I'm doing some more speaking engagements at new conferences this year as well. I got to speak last year at both Vlogger Fair, and I got to do a workshop at Adobe Max. And those are things that wouldn't have happened without the YouTube channel. I also am a paid writer with a few creative publications, Creative Pro, Print Magazine, How Design Magazine, among others. So I've gotten published in a few magazines. This is what it allows you to do. It allows you to take your personal brand and you can elevate it to this huge level, and you can reach people globally, and you can get access to people and to brands, and it's just a vehicle. You could do that with a podcast. You could do that with a book. You could do that with a blog. You could do that with an Instagram account. For my skill sets and my personality, YouTube happens to be the right platform and the right fit that allows me to scale. But I could have, in theory, done this with another vehicle like a podcast or a digital magazine. And it's been done before.
If you want to listen back to my favourite interviews of 2017, don't forget to check out Bobby B and Santa on episode 78, Amy Schmitter-Landino on YouTube Crushing Facebook on episode 75, and video marketing tips from Roberto Blake on episode 31.
JSB's favorite shoutouts.
JSB Talks Digital.
In this part of the show, I gave shout-outs to brands, organisations or individuals whose work online was remarkable and worth talking about. Interestingly, I'm giving my vote for best shout-outs of the year to episode number 42, where I discuss 3 types of fake news. In this part of the show, I usually give shout-outs to brands, organisations or individuals whose work online is worth talking about. But in today's episode, I'm sharing the 3 most common types of fake news and how to distinguish between fake news and lazy or misleading reporting. But first, let's deal with the definition of fake news. The New York Times says that with a strict definition, fake news on the internet refers to a fictitious article which is fabricated with the deliberate motivation to defraud readers, generally with the goal of profiting through clickbait. PolitiFact described fake news as fabricated content designed to fool readers with the intent of making it go viral on the internet.
1.
Fake news websites deliberately publish hoaxes and misinformation to drive website traffic leveraged by social media. This creates an advertising opportunity because traffic equals commercial value. 2016 was the year of fake news and echo chambers. Echo chambers is a metaphorical description of a situation in which information, ideas, or beliefs are amplified or reinforced by communication and repetition inside a defined system, and in this case of the digital age, being spread on social media. Studies have shown that people are bound like glue to like-minded people on social media, and so our thoughts, our conversations, and our comments are similar to those who we are connected with. You see, people fall into online polarised tribes based on the information they consume and share.
2.
We need to distinguish fake news from satire, which has been around as long as democratic politics. Satire is defined as strong irony or sarcasm, but in news writing, it's used to promote a position, but using juxtaposition and humour. The Onion is probably the most famous satire news website. In Ireland, Waterford Whispers is a famous satire website and has built its business model on writing, sharing and promoting fake news in the knowledge that everyone knows it's fake. Its growing prominence in the digital age suggests that it has made some way into being considered mainstream news, especially as this news is widely shared on social media given its deadpan humour.
3.
Misleading news designed to promote a specific narrative is probably the most damaging type of fake news. Hoaxes about US politics were among the top performing fake news content on Facebook in 2016. That's according to an analysis by BuzzFeed News. 23 of the 50 top performing fake news hoaxes they found on Facebook were focused on US politics. Overall, fake news about US politics accounted for 10.6 million of the 21.5 million total shares, reactions and comments. The top performing fake news story identified in the analysis by BuzzFeed News was a hoax from October that claimed President Obama had banned reciting the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. It was published by abcnews.com.co, a fake site made to look like ABC News. The Obama hoax generated more than 2.1 million shares, comments and reactions on Facebook in just 2 months. BuzzFeed News used BuzzSumo to identify the top performing Facebook content from 96 fake news websites, including the network of more than 40 sites exposed in its recent investigation. I've put a list of the top 50 hoaxes recorded by BuzzFeed News on the blog associated with this podcast. So what is our personal responsibility when it comes to fake news? As citizen journalists with access to social networks where we can self-publish, curate and share stories, news, fake or truth, we all must question everything we read and ensure that source is a reliable one. Don't be the bearer of fake news. Take time to carefully review what you like and share and understand that our actions on the social web will create reactions somewhere else. If you want to educate yourself on fake news, have a look at the list on Wikipedia.
JSB's favorite Ask JSB.
JSB Talks Digital.
A new feature introduced to the podcast this year, Ask JSB brought the voice of my listeners onto the show. The best question received this year was from Marie-Claire Baird of Now Media, who asked me 3 questions rolled into one about podcasting. Her questions were from episode number 52, my special first birthday edition.
Hi, Joanne. Marie-Claire Baird from nowmedia.live. How's it going? I have 3 questions for you, kind of all rolled into one. With podcasting, initially, where do you start? How do you plan it? How far in advance do you plan? Do you storyboard it? Do you try and tell a story with the content, or is it just straightforward interview format you always work with? And then getting beyond those basics, my next question is, can you measure it? Can you measure the reach? What sort of analytics can you get? I see that you have it on 2, if not 3 platforms, iTunes and SoundCloud and something else. So you have 3 different platforms. What are the different analytics like? Which platform is the most listened to, do you find? Is it important to have it on all 3? Or different people have probably different preferences? So analytics, where to put it? Do we have to put it on everyone? I suppose it'll maximize your reach. There's about 6 questions in one. I look forward to your answers on Friday. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, Marie-Claire, and thank you for your question. I try to be 2 weeks ahead of myself when I'm producing my podcast, but in reality, that's not always the case. Like today's show when I was sprinting into studio 5 minutes late. Usually then I record on the same week as the show airs. And because I have social media news, I like to be fairly current because I think this section is so useful to my listeners. It is important to me that I know how many people are listening to the podcast. I have to point out that it's not always possible to get the subscriber or download stats from iTunes or Stitcher. They don't provide them. However, there are other ways. So when measuring reach, there are a number of analytics that I use. I calculate the stats from my blog using Google Analytics. SoundCloud gives me total listens per show. I measure the video views and engagement rates for my Facebook livecasts. I also measure click-through rates on my weekly e-zine that goes out to my community every Monday containing the latest episode. I measure referral traffic from social to the blog associated with the podcast on Google Analytics. And most recently, I added Blurberry Podcast Statistics, which gives me real-time listens on a monthly basis. And did you know, on average, each podcast gets listened to 2,500 times within 7 days of it going live. My website traffic has grown substantially and in a year has resulted in an extra 65,000 hits.
JSB's favorite column.
JSB Talks Digital.
The column of the year is from episode number 58, How to Recharge Your Life in 7 Days, which featured an interview with Hidde de Vries, author of the book of the same name. I love this JSB's column because it reminded me why I do what I do and the road I have travelled to get me where I am today. Here's JSB's column of the year 2017, Time to Recharge and Rethink. In today's column, I share why I want to work for myself and service myself and my clients in equal measure. So how do you fix the problem of switching off as a digital marketer? There's no doubt that it is a balancing act, being JSB and being Joanne. JSB is the professional me and Joanne is the personal me, if you haven't noticed that already. Well, the secret's clearly out now. I made a conscious decision 9 years ago to work for myself. Just as the recession was making its way across the Atlantic from the United States, I walked out of a €90,000 job. Smart. Well, it wasn't really smart if you consider my timing, but I felt ready and able for the challenge ahead. But what I didn't expect nor could I have prepared for was what was to come down the tracks like a speeding train. They say things always happen in threes. Well, let me tell you about my triple entrepreneurial experience in a 12-week period of my life in 2008 and the beginning of 2009. So in September, I leave my job and go self-employed. The following month, it's October, and I wake up to Morning Ireland declaring that Ireland is officially in recession. Fast forward to January, and my husband gets ill, seriously ill, and this marks the start of a 3-year journey of sickness for him and caring by me and being the sole breadwinner. And to throw a fourth element into that story, 2 days after Tom goes into hospital, I discover that I'm pregnant with my second child, Bobby. At this stage, Sophie is 13. So it's January 2009. It's dark, it's really bleak, and I've got a new business. I'm pregnant, my husband is in hospital, and Ireland is in the throes of the worst recession in living memory. Great, just great. I can tell you this is one of the reasons I only wore black clothes for 3 years. Not even a pair of red shoes in sight. But while all of this is happening, business must continue. And I can honestly say that when your clients are paying you, they're really not interested in what's happening in your personal life. It's business, remember. So, as I look back on the past 9 years and see how far I've come in my own personal and professional journey, it reminds me that I need to take care of myself and recharge the JSB and the Joanne batteries to enjoy the rest of this ride. So, I'm taking up Hidde's challenge and I'm going to vlog it. Will you do it with me? Tweet me to a Tweets by JSB and let's recharge together. Remember, there is only one of you and me, so we need to take care of ourselves.
JSB Talks Digital.
Considering that I have produced almost 27 hours of podcasting content, I thought it would be good practice for me to remind us all of the big topics that dominated the social conversations in 2017 and which were reflected on this podcast.
The power of podcasting. International Podcast Day.
I got interested in podcasts, so I thought, I'll check it out. I found several podcasts like This Week in Tech, Jesus Geek, and Grammar Girl podcast, and I loved them because they were niche content. So for 2 years, I was listening to podcasts, and at some point, the light bulb just went off in my mind thinking, hey, wait, I know how to do this kind of thing. I know how to edit audio. I know how to tell a story or share a message. I have a public speaking background. I have a website development and design background. I think I could have my own podcast. And then when I launched the Audacity to Podcast, it was because I felt I had something to say in the space of podcasting, some value to contribute.
Brexit.
LinkedIn has announced what it's calling smarter messaging on the platform. Did you know that since InMail Messages was established, 500 million messages have been sent? Minister for Foreign Affairs Charlie Flanagan has been the key spokesperson on how Brexit is going to impact Ireland. Minister Flanagan says that Ireland must show a steely determination to get the best outcomes for Ireland in economic, tourism and cultural terms, all while stressing Ireland's unique position as the only country with a land border with the UK. Do you think that it will deepen the relationship between Ireland and the EU?
It will, definitely, because, and this is a good point that the Taoiseach and all of us have made, that we're not going anywhere. We're staying in the European Union. Single market has been good to us, and in some respects it's because of the fact that we've been in the European Union for the last 44 years, and because our economy has grown as a result of the single market, we are now actually able to stay in the European Union even though the Brits leave. Whereas we couldn't join prior to 1973 unless the Brits joined. So that illustrates what we have achieved in Europe, and I think
Politico Europe is a one-stop shop for news and views on Brexit. It is a Brussels-based European affairs weekly newspaper with an associated website. It is the successor to the European Voice, which changed in April 2015 after being acquired by a joint venture between US-based political publisher Politico and Berlin-based Axel Springer AG. They have a whole section on their website dedicated to Brexit. I also like their Facebook page, facebook.com/PoliticoEU, and I follow them on Twitter at Politico Europe.
Content marketing.
We all know the importance of video in terms of engagement, especially on Facebook, as the social network continues to add new video marketing features. LinkedIn is analysing user sharing habits and offering to send its findings to their employers. This includes the amount of content people are posting and the impact these updates are having on content engagement. For the 5th year in a row, #love is the top Instagram hashtag.
What we decided to do was actually be more creative with our content, be more stand out with our content. So we let it ooze more of our personality out. We did things a little bit differently. We took the mick out of a few things. We went to extreme lengths to get some kind of content. And all these things, I instantly had a result.
What was it? I can't remember exactly what it said, but it said something like content marketing is the only viable option these days. And we kind of agree, I would say, especially if you're looking for longevity with your marketing. And I think it can be thrown around a lot as a buzzword, content marketing. But if you're looking to grow your business online, our view is the internet is made up from content.
I want to tell you about the mid-funnel opportunity that is largely ignored by brands and organisations when trying to attract and convert their ideal customer. The marketing tactic to win this valuable traffic is, you guessed it, content marketing.
Fake news.
You know, it's a relatively new phenomenon, and maybe it hasn't evolved to the point yet where people can start really, determining whether they can trust someone who just happens to have 50,000 or 500,000 or whatever it might be followers.
Okay, there are a lot of issues, I suppose, really that present itself when it comes to fake news. A lot of what I find in my role is a lack of resources. We struggle to meet all of the deadlines that we have between our regular markings like council meetings, court reports. We've reduced staff numbers, and then we're also expected to disseminate across social media platforms and also websites. So there is a lot of reliance on the journalist now to be a jack of all trades.
One of the things that came out today was it's still a bit undefined as to exactly what fake news is. So I even, my understanding of fake news and all the variables at play and the factors that are kind of relating to it, I increased my knowledge of it in my preparation for this week. And then sitting in today, I could see everyone else is kind of really just trying to get their heads around it.
How social is disrupting journalism and news.
To mark the 30th anniversary of the GIF format, Facebook has introduced GIFs in comments, and I absolutely love it. Facebook also announced that almost 13 billion GIFs were sent on Messenger over the past year, with 400 million GIFs sent just on one day on New Year's Day 2017.
Well, social media has changed the way journalists work, how they gather information, find stories and deliver stories. But more importantly, social media has transformed the way the public consume and engage with news. Right, we're currently actually doing a project with colleagues in Australia on how politicians bypass the news media and go straight to the public. What we actually find in Ireland, at least, is that they don't always want to bypass the news media, that the journalists can often be better placed to bring a message to the public at large, particularly television news.
The Huffington Post is an American news and opinion website that has both localised and international editions. Founded in 2005, it was acquired by AOL 6 years later for $315 million, and it made one of its original founders, Arianna Huffington, editor-in-chief. Technology has dramatically reshaped how we consume news in the past decade. The smartphone revolution has transformed the media industry forever. And we've left behind a world where established news brands could rely on reaching large audiences and demand high advertising revenues.
The rise of live video.
The Social Media Marketing Talk Show from Social Media Examiner is a weekly Facebook Live show which broadcasts on a Friday at 4 p.m. GMT. Every week they discuss up to 5 breaking social media news stories, and they have guests join them to review the week in social media. You get a whole lot of value for your hour, so make sure you tune in. Follow them on their Facebook page at facebook.com/SM Examiner.
So at the very beginning, I say this all the time. We all suck at everything at the beginning. We weren't perfect as babies trying to walk. The first time we tried to swim, we probably almost drowned. The first time we written, a sentence, we probably made a lot of typos. And that's the same with live streaming. The first time you go live, you're probably gonna freeze. You're probably gonna use a couple more than you should. You're probably going to have no viewers, which means you're gonna panic. You're probably going to make some mistakes and forget something you wanted to say, and that's fine. You just have to be okay with that.
As a former broadcast journalist, I love the buzz of going live. There's nothing that gets the adrenaline going more than that red light going on, and you know there's nowhere to hide.
Social Media Tool of the Year.
JSB Talks Digital.
It's not been an easy task for me to choose the Social Media Tool of the Year from a superb list of 52. However, there could only be one winner, And the social media tool of the year for 2017 is TalkWalker. I featured TalkWalker on episode number 70, and I also interviewed their communications executive, Richard Sunley. TalkWalker's state-of-the-art social media analytics platform monitors and analyses online conversations on social networks, on news websites, blogs, forums, and more, and in over 187 languages. Its servers process 500 million posts from 150 million websites every day. Congratulations to everybody at TalkWalker. It's been my favourite tool of the year at Digital Training Institute, and it's also topped my list from the list of 52 listed on JSB Talks Digital, the podcast, in 2017.
JSB's 2017 bloopers.
JSB Talks Digital.
Before I finish this special podcast of my best bits from 2017, I thought it would be appropriate to share my favourite blooper of the year. It's usually just Owen who gets to hear my amazing slip-ups. So here's a reminder of when Father Ted met Victoria's Secrets. Boasting almost 57 million followers on Instagram, it's not much of a secret why Victoria's Secret is in the top 10 brands on the social network. Some might feel that reviewing the Victoria's Secret's Instagram is like the Father Ted episode where he gets lost in the laundry section. I'm just picturing him. It's hard to say without thinking about it. Oh my god. So you thought it was funny too? You were picturing him as well? Right, okay. I'm going to try and get through Father Ted without laughing. And you know what? Maybe if I just laugh, I'm just going to laugh and say, because it's so funny. Remind me of the sign. Okay. Boasting almost 57 million followers on Instagram, it's not much of a secret why Victoria's Secret is in the top 10 brands on the social network. Some might feel that reviewing the Victoria's Secret's Instagram is like the Father Ted episode where he gets lost in the laundry section of a department store. Oh gosh, sorry. Sorry, Owen.
You're all good,
I'll try and get this one done. Okay. Boasting almost 57 followers. No. 57 followers. Oh, do you want to do this bit? Will you do this bit?
Yeah, I'll step in, yeah.
Step in. Oh, Thank you so much for tuning in to episode number 80 of JSB Talks Digital, my very last show for 2017. And thank you so much for the 10,000 podcast downloads this year. What an amazing podcasting year it has been for me. I want to thank each and every one of you again for tuning in and for sharing my podcast with your friends and colleagues. I'm super excited to continue podcasting in 2018 and keep my promise to you to help you bring your skills into the digital age. As always, I have everything discussed on today's show on my award-winning blog at digitaltraining.ie. And if you haven't already, please subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, Libsyn, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. You can always have your say by telling me what topic you'd like me to cover on the podcast. So get in touch on Twitter at Tweets by JSB. I'm JSB Snaps on Snapchat, JSB Grams on Instagram, and you'll find our Facebook page at Digital Training Institute. I'm Joanne Sweeney Burke. This is JSB Talks Digital. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you in 2018. Happy New Year and happy 40th birthday to me on New Year's Eve.
Digital.